What's going on, everybody? We are back. Another episode of the ABJ Podcast. Make sure you check the links below to not just follow all things ABJ, but also my guest links that I'll be talking here with today. We got some new merchandise up. I know we took a little bit of time off, 2 months off, but there's so much content coming. We're bringing back Truth Behind Illusion, myself and Lily from Witchcraft by Lily will be talking some cool paranormal. Probably by the time you see this episode, it'll already be out, but you can check that out. Banging Beers will be dropping, as well as maybe the debut of Blazing Buds. Who knows? But a lot of stuff is coming out, so make sure you check it out. Follow me on all social media and support all my guest links below. I'm not going to waste much time starting this one off. Very, very excited. This is a drag queen, drag performer. We'll dive more into that in a moment because I'm still learning. That I met at a show in Harrisburg. It was Miss Misfits, I believe, first show they did. It was so much fun. I got to film my first drag show and kind of experiment with that and see how it goes. I cannot wait to get another crack at that. But they were in the Pennsylvania scene and then just recently moved to Texas, and it was like kind of an emotional day because it was you meet someone, you bond, and then they're going to move away. But we decided that we're going to do a podcast so we can reconvene and I can learn more about their story because I believe there's a cool one here for all of you. You're going to enjoy this one very, very much. So without further ado, let's bring in my guest today, Scarcity. Hope I said that right. What's going on?
You did. Hi, everyone.
I was like, Scarcity? No.
Everyone says Scarcity.
Yeah.
Or sometimes I've gotten Scarcity.
Scarcity. Oh.
Yeah,
so my last name's
Scarcity.
Blackwell,
Yeah.
so you can imagine in Pennsylvania how they've tweened that all up a bunch of times.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure they've
Blackwell,
messed that up.
Yeah. Or just
Black.
possible racist things to me. Yeah.
Oh,
Pennsylvania,
how fun
baby.
and festive.
Yeah. So you originally from the Pennsylvania scene. Are you always from this area or from the Pennsylvania area?
So originally I was born in Mississippi, and I lived with my biological family until I was 5. And then my grandma, who I never met, was passing away. And so my sister was in my sister was in foster care at the time. My brother was also in foster care, and my other sister had moved out. She's the oldest. And so my mom took me and moved us up to Pennsylvania in Erie, PA. And so I moved from Mississippi to PA, but that's how I ended up in PA. We ended up moving because my grandma was passing away and my mom wanted to say goodbye to her. And so then we just kind of ended up staying.
Okay. Now, growing up in Pennsylvania, did you enjoy it? Like, did you always stay in the Erie area? Because I know I kind of met you more in the Harrisburg area.
Yeah. So Erie was the first couple years. Well, actually, so I moved when I was 5. Within the first year of being in Erie, I was in foster care, in which I lived in Harbor Creek, which is not too far from Erie. They're connected.
Mm-hmm.
From there, after that, I moved back with my mom in Erie, and then from Erie, I lived in Titusville, between Erie and Titusville, I lived in Girard, Pennsylvania, which is about an hour away from Erie and an hour away from Titusville. It's kind of like that. They're here. It kind of goes there.
Everything in Pennsylvania is an hour away from each other. Yeah,
it really is, honestly. So I lived there, and then I moved back to Erie, and then I lived in Erie until I was 15, and then I moved down to York to live with my dad's because prospect to adopt me. And then I got adopted at 16 and ended up staying in the York area, and I started drag at 15 when I moved down with them the first couple months. And so I have always been in the PA scene for drag, but that was how I ended up in York in that scene, because I never really branched beyond the kind of bottom half of Pennsylvania. I only did up until State College and kind of Altoona, and then I didn't really go anywhere else in Pennsylvania.
Interesting. So let's dive into it first. We started there. There's so much to unpack in that story right there. But tell us, the audience, who you are, what you do, and essentially what we're doing here today.
I am Scarcity. I am a drag performer of 6 years. I recently moved to Texas, and today we are talking about my life, how I got into drag, and how drag has been, how I was accepted, not accepted in the community, and everything in between.
Yeah. So you said you bounced around a lot there. I'm not going to deep dive into some of it because if it's personal, I don't know what you want to dive, what you want to talk about or not talk about. But uh, the theme here is a lot of like, it seems like a lot of uncertainty for you, a lot of bouncing around, not really growing up in a stable situation. Like I couldn't even imagine what it's like to live in like a foster care. Like when I think foster care, and I hope I'm not rude. I think like Annie, like when you're like in a boarding house with 100 kids, like because I know there's all situations where people take in a bunch of kids and you live in like more of a household experiment, and even those aren't amazing sometimes for kids. You know what I mean? Like some people just take foster kids in just to collect a check every month, and those kids go through absolute hell. Like I don't know what you went through, but it sounds like a lot of uncertainty and a lot of moving around and not really finding a place.
Yeah, it was. It was a lot of honestly, your idea you have in your head isn't that far off. Thankfully, I never ended up in a group home, which is what Annie
Yeah.
was in.
Yeah.
Was a group. The first half of the movie, she was in a group home. But I thankfully never ended up there. I got close, but I didn't. But the foster home I was in she took a lot of teenagers, a lot of teenage boys, because teenage boys are the hardest kids to find homes for, because oftentimes, and I'm not going to say I wasn't like this, is like we're traumatized beyond belief. And so at the time that we're being in foster care, we can't regulate our emotions. We're incredibly violent. And I'm not excluded from that because I was like that. Uh, and so like you said, you imagine it would be hell. It was hell. I mean, like I couldn't even, I tried to do sports to like, find something for myself, and I really loved it. I loved doing track and stuff, but I had to fight tooth and nail just to get my foster mom to take me to practice or pick me up from practice. She'd like leave me at the school for like 2 hours at a time after practice was over, and I would just end up walking home for 2 hours because I'd be like, well, she's not going to pick me up anyway.
Yeah, yeah. After a track practice, the last thing you want to do is probably walk or run 2 miles home. Yeah, crazy. Now you said like you had grandparents, parents, dads later on that took you in. When you were in the foster care, did you still have contact with any family, brothers, sisters, anything? Were you completely isolated from everybody?
I was pretty isolated. Occasionally I was able to contact people or they would contact me. Um, but for the most part, I just don't talk to my bio family. I talk to my sister because she and I are close. Uh, but when I was in foster care, that didn't happen either. So I was pretty isolated. I didn't really have anyone, and I didn't have like I had friends, but there are limitations to what friends can be when you're not having a family. You don't have when you literally just don't have a family.
Yeah. Now, finding your more permanent situation with you said your two dads, was that like the sigh of relief of like, oh my God, I found people who actually give a shit about me and like want me to be here, like situation?
You know, yes, but it took a while to have that sigh of relief. It took years. I've been with them for 5 years. Actually, it's going on 6 years. I've only been adopted for 5, but I've been with them for 6. And I'd say for probably the first 3-4 years, I didn't really breathe that sigh of relief of like, oh wait, they actually care.
You probably
And I
built up
think,
so many walls to protect yourself because, like I said, you were being bounced around all the time.
yeah, it was a lot. And I mean, having those walls built, it wasn't like they were just walls, because I feel like a lot of people build walls and it's really easy to scale over or break them down.
Mm-hmm.
And in a good way. I like you connect with someone and you're able to just, but that wasn't the case. It took a really, really long time because they were reinforced with concrete, steel rebar. Like they had everything you could imagine to keep that wall up. And I mean, it was like taking a chisel and just chipping away little by little at it. And it was a really, really, really long, really hard process in which my dads had to show a level of patience I don't think most human beings could ever accomplish in their entire lives, truly. I mean, because I don't think anybody could handle me at my worst, and I was at my worst. Like, I really don't think a normal human being who wanted a kid would ever want a kid again after dealing with that.
Yeah.
Honestly.
A lot of people look at like a troubled kid and they go, "Oh, there's nothing we could do here. They're just bad." But they never put themselves in that kid's shoes. Like just hearing small like we haven't even gotten crazy details about you, but I can feel your emotion. Like, and this is the emotion I felt with, like from you the day we met at the show. Like I said, there's something here. Like you've been through some shit. Like just talking to you, you could feel that come off you. I felt that energy at least, and it came through in your performances as well. Because you had some emotional performances, but then you also had some lighthearted ones and fun ones. But even the lighthearted and fun ones, you can definitely feel like you convey your emotions through your art, which I definitely resonated with heavily. But yeah, you're definitely justified in all of that because you, like you said, like you go somewhere, you're there for a couple months or maybe a year or two, and then you're gone again. You're here, you're gone. You're here, you're gone. Like there's no, like you're probably changing friends every couple months. You're you know, there's probably so many other layers that we're not even diving into, but. I'm glad you're finally finding that peace now. And then, and you said recently, you kind of said before we got off, before we started, the move from Pennsylvania to Texas, like you were, like we were talking about it, you were terrified. Like Texas, I said bigger cities are usually better for community, like the queer community, because most bigger cities are more liberal, more accepting, more, and you can travel and find people who fit your niche. And if you move to a smaller Pennsylvania coal hole town, probably not going to find that, or you'll probably find a smaller, or you have to really seek out those people. But but you said the move to Texas has been really good.
It's been so good. I mean, the girls here, I just have never felt such kindness from a drag queen outside of my drag mother and my drag family. Like, I've never met people in drag and had them, their first thought wasn't, how can we get this bitch? How can we hurt her? What about her don't we like? What's the first thing we hate about her? Let's talk, let's talk, girls. Let's figure out what we hate about her and then dig, like their first thought was, oh, she's pretty good. I want to get to know her. Oh, she's really funny. She seems like a nice, kind person. Not, oh, she's funny. She's trying too hard. Let's ostracize her, Yeah. And like, that's the experience I had in Pennsylvania. And so coming here is like, it's crazy to be already on a show cast a month and a half in. Red Roulette, I will shout her out because she runs the show at Luxor, Nader D Luxor Club. We are, it's a fun little time. And she gave me a chance right away. She didn't hesitate to give me, before I was even in Texas, I texted her to talk to her, and we set up for me to come join a competition they were having. I did lose. Pretty spectacularly a little bit, but it was fun and fine because when I lost, that's when she was like, do you want to join the cast in front of everyone? It was a great moment. But I contacted her and she gave me a chance before she even knew who I was. Before she even knew me as a person.
What is a showcase?
So showcast. Sorry,
showcast,
I have a little bit of a lisp.
No, you're good. No, it's my fault. I mispronounced it.
Showcast. So like it's a weekly drag show that happens Friday and Saturday, and I'm part of that cast. And they cycle through different cast members. So like there's a set number of people for the cast, and there's so many people in each show. But like in PA, I was in PA drag for 6 years and never once was even afforded the opportunity to do something like that. Granted, I understand that I and myself recently am coming into drag the way I am and doing it as well as I am. It's a very recent thing in this last year. But the point being that she didn't even know who I was and still gave me a chance. And most of the girls I've met so far at Luxor and some of the other girls from neighboring towns and cities have been that way. They are not interested in my downfall. And it's so relieving because I feel like, oh my God, I can actually be myself around these people. And if I say something weird, they're like, girl, you're kooky. And I'm like, yeah, I'm autistic. That comes with the territory. I'm like, that comes with it. We got
We
a
all got a
little touch of the tism.
Yeah, we all got a little
You
touch
know.
of it.
You know. Well, some people get touched. I got fisted by it, girl.
I love that.
But yeah, so Texas has been wonderful, and also it's just so much more peaceful living day to day here than Pennsylvania. Outside of drag world, my life is also 100 times better.
And you'll never have to shovel snow ever again.
Oh, it's so nice. But you know what I do have to do with dust and tumbleweeds?
Yeah, and
and these
and scorpions and
there's these little spike things that grow in the yard, and they're these little tiny stalks, and they are fully circular. They're like tiny maces shaped. They're mace shaped with spikes, but they're super, super small, and they embed themselves everywhere, and they catch on all your fabric.
Like a sticker bush almost, right?
Yeah, they're a little bit different because I know the sticker bushes and PAs aren't like balls. They're like and they are balls, but they're a little softer. These ones are like hard. Like you bleed if you hit them hard, and they're everywhere.
Oh my goodness.
That is so annoying. But honestly, I would take that over the prickers in Pennsylvania any day. Talking about the people.
Yeah. So you said you got into drag. We'll kind of dive into this question. When did you fall in love with the industry? But I kind of want to tweak that. You said you got into the industry when you were 15. Now,
yeah,
I was afraid to tell people I played soccer because I was going to get made fun of where I grew up. So you're coming out at 15 and saying you want to be a drag queen. What is that? What is the process of that going like? Did you have like, now when I'm just going by what I see on TV and I hear the news, and I always I hear what I hear, and then I always like, that probably doesn't make a lot of sense, and then I try to listen from the other side. Did you have people telling you that like, hey, you're 15, you're being influenced, this is not what you really want? I was just sure like almost questioning is like your dreams because you're younger, and maybe saying you weren't like, when they say, when someone younger comes out and they say, oh, well, how do you know? Like, these young kids are being influenced to being gay. I'm like, it doesn't work that way. I think at a pretty young age, you pretty well know. I know before I was 14, I was like, girls. You know what I mean? Like, that's just how biologically it works that way for all of us. But for some reason, when someone says they're gay at that young, like, what TV show are you watching? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
funny you should say that, actually, because I came out at 11, actually. When I was 11 years old.
Good for you.
I knew. And that was an experience. I wasn't living with my, obviously wasn't living with my dad. So yeah, I was living with a family member, and they were pretty abusive. They were pretty awful. And so that wasn't fun. But the reason I ended up in the industry at 15 was because I sat down with my dad's one night. This was in the first house I was in with them. We've moved twice since then. One was to get me into a better school district, and one was, of course, now to Texas. But I sat down with them because they were like, do you know what Drag Race is? And I was like, no, what is that? Now, mind you, it didn't come out of nowhere. It was like, I had already started doing makeup on myself and stuff, and I didn't know what to do, where to go with it. Like, I was trying to do things that you don't really do on like a boy face. So, and I didn't have any interest in doing boy makeup because like, it was that thought of like, I know what I want to look like, but I can't look like it as a boy. Like, so I don't know, but I didn't know where to go. I didn't know anything. Of course, it was completely in the dark. But my dads knew I loved makeup and everything. So one day they were like, hey, do you want to watch Drag Race? And I'm like, what's Drag Race? They're like, you don't know what Drag Race is? They're like,
that
you're really,
like 3 months ago.
they're like, exactly. And it's like, no, what is this? And they're like, we'll think you'll like it. There are people who like wear makeup and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, cool. Yeah, please. Yes. So then that night when we were eating dinner, we went upstairs and we were watching Drag Race on TV. And I remember watching it. It was Bianca Del Rio's season. And I love Bianca. I love her. And I love her because she was the very first thing I ever saw in drag. Very first drag, anything I ever saw was Bianca Del Rio. And watching her is what inspired Scarcity. I'm not funny like she is. Nowhere near. But I loved her bitchy attitude and the way she held herself, the confidence, the air she had about her on that TV. And I looked at my dad's and I was like, I want to be like them. Literally word for word. I was like, I want to be like them. I want to be like them one day. And I said, I'm going to be like them one day. And they're like, ha, ha, ha. And like, they were like going downstairs to get a drink or whatever. And I was like, no. I was like, they're laughing. I'm going to be like them one day. And so then
what season was that?
I think it was season 7 or 8. I honestly don't keep track that much anymore.
Me
and numbers aren't good.
I don't know if I'm that far in yet. I think I don't watch it all the way through. I kind of pick and choose whenever Lily's watching it. But I think the season I was kind of waiting for is because I started season 1 and I was super excited because I got into Dragula first. And I was like,
oh yeah.
I was like, I don't think I can watch RuPaul's Drag Race now. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, I found if I was gonna get into a drag, this is probably as close as I'm going to get to being a perfect show for me. It's horror movies.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And then I started watching RuPaul and I was like, all right, I appreciate this because I feel like it's like, you have to watch that if you want to learn about the industry. I feel like that's a staple. Like RuPaul is the go-to. I feel like I still want to do like a deep dive and learn like the history of drag and like where it comes from and stuff to educate myself. I haven't done that yet, but I've been watching the TV show where like RuPaul goes from city to city and trying to open her own club.
AJ and the Queen.
Yeah, watch that.
It's so awesome. Cute.
Yeah, I watched that. Like I'm diving in, but I obviously just like everyone else who is in the drag, everyone's been saying these names, and I started learning about like Trixie and I'm gonna fuck this up. I'm gonna say it wrong. She's gonna yell at me. Katiana. Am I saying that right?
Katya.
So I always say
Katya.
Yeah, Katya is probably my favorite of all of them. At every performer I've seen, that's definitely my favorite. But that's the season I really dove in the most because they're the two that I just watched their podcasts and stuff, and I was like, they're fucking hilarious. And I just
love them.
Yeah, but it's I don't know, it's fun. It's a fun watch.
It really is. It's a cute show. I love it. But it inspired. Once I saw it the first time, I was like, I need to. And then I got involved with the Rainbow Rose Center, which is a local LGBTQ nonprofit that everyone in PA should support if they can, because they do a lot and they're really good people. And they really, you want to talk about people who work behind the scenes and make things better. Those people do. And I was on their board and the Rainbow Rose Center.
Okay. I'm not familiar with that. I have to look into that more.
Look them up. They're amazing. They have so many amazing resources and everything. But they were holding a little pageant thing, and it was really, really cute little thing. And it was me, Sarah, and I forget the drag king's name. But I was 15 competing in that little thing. Just that it was a tiny, tiny thing. It was like you had to submit a little video, and that was pretty much it. It was all online. And then obviously I competed against what would be my future drag mom, Sarah Besk. And I had a meltdown that night. I lost my shit. Not because I lost, but because like before it, I had a meltdown because I was like, oh my God, I'm going to look so ugly, blah, blah, blah. I did look ugly. But really? my brain didn't have
your evolution of drag from then till now, like the look, because
no,
I feel like you've nailed your look now. Like your look is great.
Oh God, the scarcity, what is it? The prefab of scarcity, who the thing that came before scarcity, because I used to be Miss Scarcity. Okay. She looks inbred. Just for lack of a better, she looks like her mama is her daddy and her uncle is her grandpa. Like, but I competed against Sarah, and so then my dad's essentially what they did was this is here. Let me reenact it quick. And for those of you listening, I shimmied my shoulders, sat up straight, and like have my breastises popped forward, and I'm ready to pretend to type, just to really lay the image for you. My dad's like, Sarah Besk, please help our poor son. He has no idea what he's doing. He looks like an animal. And then, yeah. And so the next week, like literally the next week, we were doing photos for me and Sarah because she won and I was runner up, and there were only 3 of us, so there were only so many options. And so then she came over, helped me do my makeup, and I looked really pretty. I will say it's like it was one time in that whole 3 years of really, really bad makeup that I was like, you know what? Actually, I was like, you know what? I look like a cis woman, and I did, and I do, and I loved that picture.
Now that I know, I didn't know going into drag that AFABs can do drag. Like female assigned at birth can do drag. I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't know drag kings were a thing until I started going to my first drag show, and then I went to a show, and I believe Miss Misfit's the first one that came out. I was like, wait. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, so the big game for everyone when I'm as a straight dude who goes to the drag shows, they're like, what do you? I'm like, well, of course they look pretty, like they're presenting female. I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, so I'm like, they do a great job. And then somebody comes out, I'm like, is that what really filming? And they're like, no, that's. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. So it's like a mind fuck, which is exactly what is fun about drag. Pro wrestling, you're there to sell a character. You're there to sell a look, and that's exactly what drag's doing. And I remember when you first came out, I was like, because I remember I went to Miss Misfit show. I'm like, oh, maybe more. There's more AFABs that are coming. And then you came, I was like, what's happening here?
Yeah, no, it's so funny because at the club, it's really funny. So one of my friends at the club, he told me that so the boss who runs the club had come up to him when I was performing for the competition. It was like, is that one a real girl?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, you think I'm a real girl? Wait, hold on. What's that? I'm a real. He think I'm a real girl.
Yeah.
Literally.
the Pinocchio.
The Pinocchio voice.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
I'm a real girl.
How did you land the name Scarcity?
So I honestly just looked up pretty words that I liked. So I was thinking of words that thought sounded pretty to me, and then I landed on scarcity. And then eventually my dad came up with the cuntiest line ever, and I love it to this day. But it always preface it with, my dad came up with this, not me. My name is Scarcity because there's a scarcity of good drag queens, and I need to fix that.
Ooh,
but
I like that.
But the real reason is I just thought it sounded pretty.
Yeah. Now, I'm kind of going to dive back again real fast when it comes to your dads. When you were placed with them from the foster system, did they place you with dads because maybe like knowing that you were out and you were probably having a harder time being out and being younger with other people, they felt like that was a better fit for you?
So I actually made that decision myself. They didn't tell me that 2 dads was an option when I was in foster care. So the reason I actually spent so much time in foster care was because they never told me that 2 dads was an option for adoption. So when
fucking wow,
they never told me that was an option.
You would have been accepted. You would have felt like normalized as a human. Like fucking.
They just assumed I knew that at 14. From 12 to 15, they just assumed I knew that. And we're like, oh, well, he must know. And they were like, do you want to be adopted? I'm like, absolutely not. The last thing literally, and the worst part is I wasn't even like, oh, I don't want a family, I'm fine. It was, I don't want a conservative Christian family to adopt me.
Yeah, then
I don't want someone,
fucking one of those camps.
Literally.
Yeah.
And not to say, I'm like, that's the last thing I want. Okay, I don't want that. And so then they were like, okay. And they never brought back well, what about 2 dads? And so then one day I'm sitting down with my caseworker at the table and I'm like, can I have 2 dads? She's like, what? I was like, if I were to get adopted, can I have 2 dads? And she was like, yeah, that's always been an option. I'm like, when were you going to tell me that was an option?
I feel like the caseworkers in these situations should be trying to find the best fit for that child.
Yeah, well, and it was just crazy. I got a new caseworker after that, and she was amazing, beyond amazing. And once I found out that I could have 2 dads, it was game over. I was like, okay, I'm getting adopted. And so then they ended up placing me with them. So the way adoption works It's kind of crazy. So the way I'm going to describe it is going to sound wild.
It sounds like prison. Like either you have two choices. You stay in the system until you're 18 and just do your bid. And then when you're 18, you're free and do whatever the hell you want because you're so closed-minded that you don't want to go to a family that's going to not accept you and treat you like shit or use you for a paycheck. Or you get, it seems like such like, adoption.
It's essentially what it is.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it's always sometimes the best option. And once again, you're building up your walls and your guard. And you're like, does this family really want me? Or are they using me for the reasons that the adopt system's kind of there for?
Exactly. Well, and the worst part was like, it was that thought that you're saying right now was just reinforced by the fact that every single one of my foster mothers that came through that home, which was 15 people total in 3 years.
Different homes.
No, 15 people came through that home. Oh. I was actually in a stable home for a little bit, but it was an abusive home at the end of the day. Yeah. But every single one of them came from a family that they got adopted into and treated them horribly, and all their kids got taken that they were adopting.
Yikes.
So every single one of them were abused by their adoptive parents and their biological parents. So I was like, I don't want that to happen to me. And so I was like, okay, you know what? I'm good. I don't need that in my life. I'm going to be fine. But had I known that two dads was an option, I would have never even thought for a day that they would do anything awful to me. And they haven't. They've been the best parents, literally, I think any human being could ever have. I know everyone likes to say that about their parents, but like, I mean it, because the relationship I have with my dads is like, and obviously now it's different because I'm an adult and I am going to school to start my career and everything, it's a different relationship now a little bit, but it's more open conversation. And not that it was ever closed, but most parents, I feel like, are so particular about their kids. Their kids have to be this way, do this thing, do this how, or they're really, really open and then really, really strict on some things. And it's crazy, crazy ends of the spectrum in the same breath. And it's abusive at the end of the day. They never have done anything like that. And in fact, I would more say like, I'm getting off topic. Getting back to,
please finish your train of thought.
I, if anything, was so awful that I traumatized my dads, which feels really, really, really awful that like I was such a violent and volatile child that got into so many problems that I traumatized them. Like, I mean, I'm being very serious. I gave them PTSD.
Wow.
And so like living with them, I haven't lived with them for a year. I lived in PA on my own for a year, just moved down here. They've lived down here for a year. And so like kind of circling back around to the question of like, I chose to be placed with them, but they also had to choose me. And so every time that I'm like, I think about like, oh, I'm gonna, I'm not like, if I can be like, oh, I'm getting emotional, whatever. Now I regulate and everything like that. But at the time I didn't. And like I said, did, and acted like just horribly. I'll never forgive myself. I will never forgive.
You're also still very young. Like I like even in my, like you're in your early 20s, right?
Yeah, I also, yeah, I am. But it's just more of
I really figure shit out and control my emotions till I'm 37. I'm still figuring shit out. But like, it still took me a while. My early 20s, I was still like coming off your early teens. And like I said, you've been through the ringer. Like the being self-aware and understanding that your actions have consequences to other people is a huge step to go. And I think that's going to be healthy for you getting advancement in your career and you as a person, as well as your relationship with your dads. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and like, it's a thing for me is like, I'll meet people sometimes, especially just to be a little shady for a minute. Like the Queens of Pennsylvania, comparing myself now to who they are now, my emotional maturity and my ability to regulate my emotions and hear really awful things and see really awful things. And just in general, just have things always hitting me, coming my way, and being able to just, I'm okay. I got this. And then actually handle it and handle my emotions and everything. But it's like, I'm still on that journey, but I do feel like my ability to regulate and emotionally recognize things within myself is really incredible for where everything I've been through, where I'm at now, and only being 20 years old. But that is the beauty of therapy. Because my dad's got me into therapy and everything right away. They got me set up with a therapist, Alyssa. She is amazing. I absolutely can never have another therapist. It has to always be her. But anyway, back to your question. The funny thing about the adoption process is it's literally a convention. None of the kids are present. The caseworkers have about loads of 10 to 15 kids at a time that they're all working their cases. And basically what they do is they create this fake profile. It's almost like a dating profile. I'm not even going to lie. It's almost like a dating profile. And they have this paper flyer that they put on the table in front of them. And all of these adoption agencies from all over Pennsylvania, so it's probably like 150 or so adoption agencies, all meet up at a congregated area. They rent out a convention center. And then
my perspective dark kicking in so bad right now.
I know. Oh, I can't wait.
Who's interested?
Do you like how does this faggot look? Look at this one right here.
Is that something you're willing to deal with?
Yeah. So this one bites. Can you deal with that?
Yeah, he bites and he'll steal your makeup.
Literally. But it's crazy. And so basically you go in, you walk around to all of the booths, and you literally look at it's a combo. It's like dating profile meets auctioneer, low key. And so you go in, they have their flyer in front of whatever, and you're like, tell me about this kid. They're like, the caseworkers, blah, 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 blah. And then the parents like, well, I want this, and the child. Here's this child. We're going to match you with them for now. And if it works out, great. If not, we have more kids available that might work better for you.
I can definitely see why the kids aren't present, though, because I feel like if the kids are present and if somebody is predatory,
that would be a nightmare.
They're gonna find a way to like, hey kid, like if they're good manipulation and they are not good people and good they're predators.
Well, and also the emotion of the kids.
Me, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and also the emotions of the kids. Yeah. It's really, and it is really, and exactly what you're saying is like, it is a protection for the kids. They don't have a real names on there, nothing, just in case somebody were to like, you know. Yeah. But my dad's were late. Like really, really, really late. Like everybody was packing up late. And it is solely by chance that I still think about it and think about how lucky I am and how many forces had to be convening at that moment to make it happen. Because so there was this space, essentially. There was a giant door, they came through. They went to the left. And they were talking to somebody who was packing up. They went around, they talked to everybody who was packing up. They get to the very last person in the lineup, which is my caseworker, my adoption worker. And so caseworker and adoption worker are different people. They do different things. But then my adoption worker, she was there, and they made their way all the way around to all the booths that were all packing up. They were kind of like done for the day. There was like, it was closing time. She overheard them talking about the type of kid they wanted to that first booth they went to. And essentially what happened, she overheard them talking and saying what they wanted a kid. And my dad's originally wanted a baby. But she was like, I'm going to try anyway. I'm going to tell them about this kid anyway. And
look at this flyer.
Literally, she's like, I got one over here, right here. And so it awestrucks me sometimes thinking about it. Is like 5 minutes later, and my entire life would be entirely different. Not even 5 minutes. Literally, like that little bit of time made the entire difference in the world. And so they came around to her and she was like, so I overheard you guys talking. I know you want a baby, but I have this kid who checks all the other boxes. Would you be interested to meet? And So they lived in York, I lived in Erie. So we met halfway and had dinner in this tiny, 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 tiny town. I think it was maybe 15 blocks total.
Okay.
And we had dinner at that place with my caseworker and my adoption worker and my dad's, and just talked, just got to know each other, and they got to know me as a person. And I was such a dumb child. So both my dads are musicians. So I wanted to sing for them, because I
They're
was
like, take him back.
literally
Tone
they're
down.
like he can't hit a high C. We don't want it. So, but I wanted to do that, and of course it sounded awful, but they loved it anyway. And my dads tell me now, they got in the car and on their way home they were like, this is the one. And so, and I'm sorry.
You're good.
And I remember getting in the car with Nicole, and I was so excited. So excited because they understood me. They didn't feel weird about my jokes I was making, and it was this really pure moment. I think one of the first times in my life that I really, really, really felt true joy. Joy of this could be my family.
Mhm.
And so all the way back to the question of how does the adoption process work? Were you just placed with your dads? Is we met a couple times after that, and then they let me move in with them earlier than they were supposed to, so that I could start school in that area. And the rest is history. I got adopted the next year, and there was a lot of hiccups that came with that, of course, and I have healed since then, and I feel like I'm a good son now. And so, yeah, so they being placed with them was a mutual choice that both of us had to be very educated on the other and then agree to. It's
Yeah.
do we really want this? And there was the preliminary year where I lived with them and then was adopted after that.
So getting into drag at an earlier age. Now, I say this and I stress this with other interviews, and I don't always think that everyone listens to every interview. So if you hear me say the same thing multiple times, sorry. Don't care. This content's for me, and if you're hanging out, then I appreciate that. But obviously, once again, in the news and the way things are presented with drag is everyone assumes that drag is like a striptease, and it's over sexualized, and it's this, and it really comes down to the style of show you're working and how it's going.
Mm-hmm.
So when you go to these shows at 15, you have to kind of pick and choose what you work. So did you go for more of the pageantry style shows, or where did you find yourself at that younger age?
So because I was so young, of course, I couldn't do most shows, if any. And so I hunted and found, and my drag mom found for me, shows that were for all ages, that were meant to be shows for teens who want to do drag to come and have fun.
Mm-hmm.
Me and another person that I know in Pennsylvania started drag together at one of those shows because we had met at a youth group, queer youth group, and that was one of the shows, and that launched us both into drag.
Have you ever had an experience at a drag show? Sorry to cut you off. That
No, you're good.
Where someone you're hey, this is all age show, and then someone comes out and does a number or a move that's more catered to an adult theme show, and is that something hey, when they get back behind the curtain, they're hey, chill out with that. This is all age.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there are queens. I'm so tempted to say their names, but I'm not going to. I'm going to be nice today. I'm going to be nice today.
Well, I'm saying I feel like the industry has such a magnifying glass on. I feel like if you're going to promote
it does,
all age, you have
but
to
I will
yourself as all age. You know what I mean?
Because
you can ruin it for everybody. Yeah.
You really could. And some of the queens have almost, and they know who they are, and they have. It truly is something where it's yes, we're under a magnifying glass, but at the end of the day, if we're advertising something as all ages, it needs to be all ages. And I've seen girls do some pretty nasty shit on that stage when it is all ages. And I, I've never had to say anything, but I've always checked in and made sure something was said, because it's not something that should be tolerated. You know, a lot of queens seem to have a problem following parameters when they are given like the guidelines for a show. Now, it's different if somebody has an accident. Like if something rips or something on stage, because I've seen that before too. Is like that's a whole other different story. That's like, sorry y'all had to see that. We had a little bit of a difficulty and moving on with the show. Um, versus somebody actually actively being hypersexual on purpose. And some of the girls just are not built for all ages, and they get hired for the all ages shows, and then they have to have a talking to after, and then they get all salty and mad because, well, I should be able to do whatever. And it's like, no, it's an all ages show. There are children present.
I feel like you know that more than anybody, because coming into the industry at such a young age and being that 15-year-old at a show, if you go to a show with your dads or whoever your guardian is at that time, and you walk in, it's over hypersexualized, like, we're not putting our kid in this industry. Like, are you crazy? You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
So it
Well,
is
and my
important to stick to
dad's
show parameters.
My dad's like, I'm assuming had a talk with Sarah Besk, and Sarah Besk also was the perfect drag mom for me, because I know other girls and they're drag moms and they've hot drag moms and everything like that. And Sarah and I have stayed strong because she's not just my drag mom, she is my best friend, she's my mentor. I would 10 times over get hit by a train if it meant nothing bad ever happened to her. Like, I care about her. Like, that's not just my drag, that is my blood. That is my blood family. And I love her to death. And I would do anything in this world for her. And vice versa as well. It's same to me. And the thing is, like, because not only, like, she literally watched me grow up. And so she was so careful and meticulous about where she put me in the drag scene and allowing me to do certain things. She didn't even let me step foot near a club or near an adult-ish show until I was 18.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a lot. Yeah, she let me do the first one.
Any
17.
entertainment industry has the thing. I'm trying to tiptoe my word. Like, I'm in the wrestling scene, the music scene, theater, musical arts. There's people out there who prey on people in the industry, especially young people in the industry or females in the industry or anything like that, that are trying to chase a dream, and people use your goals to try to be predatory. But I feel like if something like that were to happen in the drag community, because it's so hyper aware and it's everyone's trying to criminalize it or make it so terrible, like they're highlighting it because it's queer, essentially. Let's just call it is what it is.
Yeah.
But it's like, this happens in all entertainment industries. So
it's really
very
does.
good that your drag mom is hyper aware of that and protected you.
She really did. And like, but for example, some of the other girls, I mean, they got into drag so early on at same age as me, or like I saw them get into drag when I was like 16, 17, 18, and they were not old enough to be in the clubs drinking, doing drugs, and everything else under the sun. Mm-hmm. And the people who were mentoring them did not protect them from that. And that's
or the people
not to say
who's participating in those shows who see it and don't say anything.
Yeah, they're silent. That's a really big problem. Exactly. And that's a real big problem in the drag community and PA community in general, is the silence when someone's entertainment industry, period, is the silence when someone's doing something they shouldn't be.
A lot of places I don't work anymore, because if I walk in and I go, didn't they just get in trouble for XYZ? Yeah.
Yeah.
Why are they here? Because I'm like, if they're here, I'm here. They're out or I'm out. Well, see you later. Like, I won't work with somebody like that. Like, I just and I don't think enough people do that, because once again, I think obviously you're trying to chase your dreams. You want opportunities, and opportunities don't come very often. But my morals outweigh my career, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, and my drag mom also was really, really, like, I mean, protective of me in a way that it was like, I never once felt unsafe when I was at a show with her. I knew if anyone said anything to me, I could go up to her and I could tell her. And there were plenty of times that I went up to her and I said, this person's hitting on me. It's making me uncomfortable. They don't know that I'm this age. can you go tell them something? And she would tell them, she'd be like, we're not doing that. No. They're like, well, but she's like, no, she's off limits. You back up.
Yeah.
And like,
here to perform, it's not a dating service for them.
Exactly. Well, and like, because I was performing from 15 until 18, I wasn't of legal age for 3 years of me my first 3 years performing. So these people, of course, in drag didn't know who I was, so I won't fault them on that. But she was protecting me because it wasn't like I was performing at bars or anything. I was performing at all ages shows and people were still doing that. And it's crazy. And it was people backstage or like, you know, a queen's best friend or something like that, or some show director or something being creepy and weird. And my drag mom never had a moment or an inch of it. She was always on that shit. Like, she never once let something like that just slide. She was always like, no, she's not, no, that's not happening. And even me, even when I turned 18, she still would be like, you don't do that. No, ma'am.
18 is the legal age, but still you're not always 18 and knowing what you're doing or going to make the right decisions.
Yeah. And that's why, like, I see other people with their drag moms and stuff, and I think in my mind, I wish everyone could be like Sarah. Like, I wish everyone could have a Sarah in their life, because when I started starting this industry so young, she protected me from she protected me so much.
Yeah.
And she, like, I mean, when these girls were coming at me behind my back, she did not let it get back to me. She kept that to herself. And she, like, corrected things quietly and slowly to make sure that that wouldn't be a problem again in the future, so that I would never have to hear it to my face. She protected me from everything for the first 3 years. And then when I turned 18, I was getting a little cocky and I was being a little bitch, for lack of a better word. And she was like, okay, you need to get your shit together. When you get it together, then maybe. But for now, I'm not your drag mom. And she kind of let me go for a little bit. Yeah, and it worked. I got my shit together real quick. I was like, I can't live without Sarah. I still, like, I can't live without her. I really can't. I'm so thankful that I found a community here in Texas so quick and have made really close friends with people so quickly, because of the fact that, like, my first thought coming down here, the reason I was so scared was because I'm not going to have my mama anymore, you know? And that was the main part of, like, earlier when you're like, you were terrified. Like, I was terrified, but the real fear was, I'm not going to have Sarah. I'm not going to have Sarah to protect me anymore. And because she did all those years, and even until today, protected me from so much. And I'm sure there's so much that I'll never even know she protected me from, but I know in the back of my mind, like, I know that there's a lot that she protected me from, and she defended my name and did so much for me. And, like, I'll never repay her for all she's done, because I know she's done more than I could ever.
Well, you know, you have
more than I ever know.
You know how you can is, now that you're in a new scene and you're stretching your feet, you're in a new scene. Every time you're about to get your emotions get the best of you, or you're down or you're confused, like, I'm making a joke, but, like, what would Jesus do bracelets? Make a what would Sarah do bracelet. And just think of,
what would Sarah do?
Yeah, think of her guidance and the reason why she was your drag mom and everything she instilled in you, and be a better person and keep growing.
Yeah, well, I think the real bracelet needs to be,
you're gonna be fucking kicking ass. You know what I mean? You'll be
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and, like, I think what the bracelet really needs to say is, what would Sarah tell you to do? Because if I had something that said, what would Sarah do? Bitches be getting their ass beat. I love my mama. She's ratchet.
So it's funny how, I mean, behind the scenes, I send you a list of questions, and it makes me proud that I can knock questions out without even answering the questions. But we already hit so many, like the beginning stages, some setbacks and adversities. But what are when do you feel like you hit your peak, or when you feel like you really kind of felt that comfortability in the drag scene, or even have you not felt that yet? Yeah, or now?
I don't feel like I'm at my peak. I won't be at my peak for a very long time, but I feel like being in Texas is the first time I felt this is awful. And I hate talking bad about like PA, but I mean honestly, it's not it is my fault in some ways because I acted unruly a lot, and
You're a kid.
a s- I was not just a kid, an autistic kid who didn't know, and nobody would tell me.
You were
And
never taught
like
as a kid how to regulate your emotions or handle them properly.
exactly.
You had no
So
guidance most of your childhood.
I'm like, exactly. And these girls didn't know that, and they didn't care, and they still don't, and they never will, because they're not good people, a lot of them.
Let's not say that. I feel like maybe this is why I enjoy my podcast and letting people tell their stories and appreciate when people are vulnerable and put themselves out there, because I think I'm growing a little bit of a eyes on my product when it comes to the drag scene and drag community and drag people, and I feel like people will hear this and hear your side and maybe hear a side that they didn't expect. I've had that before where I've had somebody I promoted, not in a drag community but in general, back when I did my old content, when I would just interview everyday people who weren't even chasing their dreams, just people who had their stories or going through things. And I remember I would post somebody and be like, did you know that they did this, and this? And I'm like, cool. And if they talk about it, listen to the story and see if you have a different opinion later. And you know how many times I had someone message me and say how bad the person was that's going to be on my podcast, hear their story, and then reach back out to me, then reach out to them and become friends afterwards? Tons of times.
And that's a beautiful thing. I think
Yes.
my more thing is like
My
I've
content
gotten
has
to know.
people, and that makes me very
Yeah,
proud.
it's a it's really amazing, honestly, and I've never done anything like this before. And when I say that I think like they're bad people, I don't mean like they're bad people in the way that it's like, oh, they always are doing bad things, making bad decisions. I
You
mean,
had a
a
bad
lot of the
experience.
girls, I had an awful experience. And like talking about like being at my peak, like I won't be at my peak for a long time, but these the girls dampened my spirit. They put out my spark for a very long time. And I don't know if they realize they did that. And I think maybe a lot of them don't. I think a lot of them think I'm this cocky, stuck up, rich cis guy who, does whatever, however. But the reality is, I have been homeless. I have been starving. I used to be very, very malnourished. I mean, bone thin, like you could see my ribs for the first 13 years of my life, and so on. Because when I came to my dad's, I was you can still see my ribs. So 15 years is more like it. Like they don't know anything about my life. And I think the thing that I get angry about is that they never cared to, and
Mhm.
I do. I have always made an effort, and it makes me like in my mind I'm like, yes, I understand everybody has their things and goes through them, but in the same breath, I have always made the active choice to try and be kind when I can, and other people don't have that same ability, and I understand that and recognize that. But
Mhm.
like being in Texas has showed me that everyone's capable of making that choice. It's also a choice to treat me the way they did. And they also chose to treat me the way they did. And not to say like everybody's like that. It's literally like maybe 6 people that are in mind that really just put out my spark. Um, but like people like Miss Misfit, Percy Darlin, Sarah Best, Sybil, Tragedy Stackhouse, Ashley Jack Tabernacles, like, and many, many more are those are my girls. Those are my community. And like they made me feel amazing. But in PA, I never felt happy doing drag. Like I loved doing it in private when I was in my own room and not on that stage and with the girls where I knew I wasn't welcome and I wasn't wanted in a lot of ways. And now
Yeah.
that I'm in Texas, it's like, whoa. So
Did you
this is what
find the
it's like to be
Misfit
happy.
crew as you were about to leave? Like, how did you come up with that crew of like that Harrisburg crew?
So, I mean, the thing, oh yeah, Kiana. Oh, I love Kiana. Sorry, she just
Yeah.
popped into my head. I'm just thinking about her. Like, what
I just feel like that's a good crew. Like,
it really is.
I
They're
was at the
amazing.
show. I was at the show, and then I got to hang out with people after the show. And I think one of the things that really stood out for me, and I only remember one of the performers' names is Candy. candy bars, but there was a few other performers with them as well, drag queens.
Yes. Oh my.
Who just showed up to show support, and I was like, that's dope. Like, I don't know, I can't. I'm not saying one crowd or one scene is better than the other, but I was really impressed with that Harrisburg scene and the people who gravitate around Miss Misfit, and I feel like genuinely,
and they're normally Lancaster.
They're good people. Yeah. Okay.
They're normally. So like the thing that like all of us in PA, we perform everywhere in PA for the most part. Mm-hmm. So but Misfit branched out, and normally she was doing Lancaster and stuff with Ashley Jack and all of them. And so it's kind of like one big. They are like one big family, but also it's like all those people are all like alternative in some way, but they're also with people who appreciate alternative drag. Like Kiana, I love Kiana Mitchell's. If anybody listening wants to go check her out, she is that bitch. She absolutely is that bitch.
I had a headache watching. Like, they move and they don't stop, and they're headbanging.
Oh yeah, you just feel it in your neck. You're just like, I felt that, girl.
Yeah.
But like they are all amazing, and I ended up meeting them. I've known them pretty much the entire time I've been doing drag. It was a very recent thing. Too.
Very sweet, very sweet.
I love Alanis. Yeah. I love Alanis. She is very, very sweet, very, very sweet person.
It's a good crew. It's a good crew.
And also they're just amazing, and like they really like they're a good example of like. I feel so bad because like Enigma, the Queen Enigma, Derriere, Misfit, and everyone, I've known them for years, but I only recently, when I was getting ready to leave, became close with them and became friends with them, and it makes me like
a click that and you're like, I'm about, because that's the energy I felt. I felt like your struggles without knowing your struggles, but then I also felt like you kind of looked around, you're like, fuck, I'm about to move, and I feel like I found a group. You know what I mean?
And I'm like, wow, I'm actually starting to feel supported by my community, and I'm leaving. Fuck. Yep. Like
that's the energy I got. Yeah.
It really, that's how it felt, because I'm like, oh my God, I spent all these years like feeling so awful around everyone and being so mistreated, and the people who like really like became in my corner those last few months, I'm like, so everybody had all these misconceptions about me. And that's why I said earlier, like, sometimes I say the wrong words and I say the wrong things because I don't have the words to express emotions, but I want to express the emotion. Mm-hmm. And I guess the emotion I felt when I was saying like, oh, like some of these queens are bad people. It's not that they're bad people. They just don't have the bandwidth to get to know people sometimes, and everybody is entitled to that. But like something I noticed is like a lot of the girls that I became friends with now, who are these amazing, lovely, wonderful people, I also didn't have the best opinions of. And that was because of things that were said back and forth, and the way things get intermingled in the drag community. And this person said this, and this person said that, and this person did this, and this person did that. And like,
how you circumvent all that? Go straight up to the person and have a conversation.
Literally. Well,
exactly,
and I
think
think
we're doing right now. Carry that throughout the rest of your. This person I heard does this, this, and this. Hey, I got a good vibe from you. I like you. I'm not telling you what was said or who was said by, but this is what I heard. Can we hash it out and just kind of have an understanding of each other? Because I kind of like you, and if you made some mistakes in your past, I can accept that. If you're like, and then just finding that common ground with your words is very powerful. And if they choose not to after that, then that's on them.
Exactly. Well, and like Derriere's a good example. If y'all don't know who Derriere is and you're listening, fucking look her up. She is not okay. So Kiana is that bitch when it comes to dancing, whipping her hair, breaking her neck, making you feel like you broke your neck in like in that good way, you know? Derriere is like she's a fucking drag queen. She can do it all. She does all her wigs herself, all her sewing, everything. I love this girl. She's literally my best friend. I love her so much. And like we ended up just randomly bonding, and she was like, oh yeah, she's like, I thought you didn't like me for like the longest time, so like I never talked to you. And I was like, she was like, what did I do? She's like, oh, well, this one time, like, she's like, anytime you saw me. So this is what I mean by like my autism often like got in the way of everything. And like, it's really annoying to know now, like to hear myself speak and know that like I'm actively making sure I sound a certain way. Not right now, I'm not.
Yeah.
Because this whole time I've just been like, I'm just gonna be myself. But Daria was like, oh yeah, because I would go up to her and I'd be like, I like that. It's cute. And the way she said it to me, which is I know the way I said it to her, but I didn't think I was saying it like this, is like she's like, that's cute. And I was like, oh my God, you're right. And so like when I was becoming friends with these people, it like kind of opened my eyes to like, oh, yeah, so that is like partially my fault that those views were about me that way. It was kind of my fault too. But like I became friends with these people the last couple months and like realized like wow, you guys are really amazing people. And I remember I remember like I would see Derriere and I would just be like, I just want to be her. I just want to be that good one day.
I think I
And
just
like
found
she,
them on Instagram. They have a fucking cool ass look. It's very pop punk.
I know. It's like their makeup like is like pop art and I fucking love it.
It's very oh fuck, what's his name? The artist from Pittsburgh that does the Campbell soup cans. Oh no. Warhol, not Warhol. Pittsburgh artist. He does like the pop art.
I don't know.
Very pop art.
I'm honestly not sure.
Oh, I'll find it right now. I don't have a Jamie pulling things up for me. Pittsburgh artist museum. Because I went to the museum when I was there. Andy Warhol. Yeah, Warhol Museum. Warhol art is very like it looks. They literally look like they're from a Warhol drawing. I'll pull something up. Go ahead. You finish your thought. I'll put it up in the room for us to look at.
I honestly, I think I don't know what my thought was.
I like, threw you off.
No, you're good. I'm one of those people. The second my mouth shuts, my brain stops.
Yeah, I'm the same way. ADHD goes on. I go on a tangent.
ADHD go burr.
Yeah. Yeah. So Andy Warhol's very like he got a lot of shit for his art because he'll take like a legit piece of art and then just kind of pop the fuck out of it. And he got a lot of criticism because he didn't make sometimes original stuff. It was already previously used photographs or previously used things. But every art is different. But I'll put some Warhol. But yeah, actually I'll just put a photo of Derriere up as too. I'll give them a shout out because
absolutely they are amazing.
To find a photo that's not I want to say not appropriate, but like one that that justifies it because there's so many good ones here.
Yeah, I know her Instagram is so well done. I just love that girl so much. Also, the Queen Enigma, she's one of my friends as well. I mean, that girl's a drag queen. I helped her do a pageant before I left. I made some costumes for her, and it was such a healing experience. Like I never told her this, and if she listens to this, I want her to know that like she helped me heal before I left. Like her Derriere, Majesty, being able to kind of hang out with everyone and not feel like an outsider,
What scene are they from? Like what area?
So right now Enigma's York, but she normally she normally does like Lancaster, but they do like the whole South Central PA. So all of us who like I've talked about and all miss everyone, we don't have like a set area. Mm-hmm. We have areas that we might normally perform in, which for Misfit is like Harrisburg, Lancaster area. And for like Kiana, she'll do Lancaster, Harrisburg, York, a couple other places. But like, and same here, but everybody else, like Sarah and everyone, we go from all the way up to State College. I haven't done State College in a long time, all the way down to PA. So like whole South Central PA, wherever there's a drag show, we get hired, we go. So there's no like set area or anything. Like here in Texas, it's different. like you are like right like because I live in Lubbock, I am a
country. Like
uh-huh.
you put
So
the
like
UK in Texas. Like it's fucking massive.
isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
And so like I'm a Lubbock queen. I'm primarily in Lubbock. Even if you travel to Dallas a lot, you're always going to be a Lubbock queen because you live in Lubbock. Now, if you move to Dallas, then you're a Dallas queen. And it's really, really interesting because in PA, it's like, well, I'm not really from an, I just kind of go everywhere.
Yeah. So here's some Warhol art. So like the Campbell soup cans, like
I love.
Or they'll take like one piece of art and then flip the colors a whole bunch of times. This is like another
Oh,
popular
those are
one.
cute. I love that.
The Marilyn Monroe.
Oh, that's cool.
So this is where I was saying I got a lot of the.
Oh my god! Oh my god! She's hot. That one's sexy. Ooh!
I don't know who they're in the photo with, but they have a fucking great look too.
I know. It's Derry. I miss you so much. If you're listening when this comes out, I miss you so much. I know. She's amazing.
Rogue, of them just as Rogue from X-Men. But let's just also do this. We talked about right now you're going to cosmetology school, correct? So you're trying to better your craft. Show up to school one day like this.
Oh, one day maybe.
I think you have the makeup down. I think you do a great job.
Thank you. I really am proud.
This is a Lily photo.
I love that photo of me. It's my favorite. I use it for everything now. All my promos, everything. I use that because I'm like, I love it. And it's like
this dress is super sick, and it has like you can't really see it in the thing, but like that waistband is all like teeth, and then on the chest piece is a mouth with the teeth and an actual like tongue that if you feel it, it feels like a real ass fucking tongue, like it stretches and everything.
Yeah.
Like, it looks wet and it's crazy.
It's like I was like, I wonder if I can get a silicone tongue, and I got it, and I was like, oh, this is so cool, and I was like, oh, it stretches, and I was so excited, and then like being able to use that in the performance like that was like so awesome. That thing is now an art piece. I don't wear it anymore. That was the first and only time it'll be worn.
As well as a set of earrings.
Oh, and oh my god. Okay, so I have 7 more, and I'm about to make some earrings out of them now. Thank you for that. Because
what is their drag name? And Enisec? I'm gonna say it wrong. Insect, but it's like but it's EN.
The wrong person. No, it's not.
No.
Insects is a completely different person.
I thought they use it as well.
No.
Sierra, but she's also a drag queen. She did the last Miss Misfit show. Her thing is she dresses as like bugs. She does like a bug gimmick, different bugs, but she makes jewelry. So I actually have a cracker earring that they made.
That's cute.
They also made this this tongue, and then when she bought it because like after your dress, before she bought it before, but yeah, it's so anyway. I might have just broke that.
So he just broke that. He just broke that in front on camera. Can't even lie about it. Caught in 4K. Caught in 4K. How about it?
But, two more looks I want to put up real quick. Another one of that dress real fast. You can see the tongue in that one.
There's also a picture of me eating pussy on it.
Lily's.
Oh my god.
Yeah. And then there it is. There's like a spooky.
And those are real chicken feathers, by the way.
Really?
They're from an old friend of mine. Her mom was like, "Hey, I have all these chicken feathers from our pet chicken." Mind you, that chicken his feathers needed to be something beautiful because he's full of evil and spite. He is possessed by the devil. And he knows he runs that house. That's the crazy part. He's lives a better life than any of us ever will. And so she collects his feathers because he molts, and he's like, he's a beautiful rooster. And so she had bags upon bags of feathers. And I was like, I'll take these, I'll use them one day. And then a month later, I had the show coming up for Fang Around that unfortunately is not happening this year for Chronicles Nut. And I was like, oh my god, I can make this. I was like, I can actually use it for something. And so then I made that. I was so excited. I was so happy. But they're real chicken feathers, and I love petting my tits in it. It's so nice.
That's the big thing in drag, right? So obviously, like in the pro wrestling scene or art scene or music scene, like you could be a great guitar player, you could be a great drummer, you could be a good singer, you could be a good lucha wrestler, physical wrestler, technical wrestler. In the drag scene, you could be a good performer, but not every good performer knows how to make their own clothes, knows how to do their own makeup, can do their hair. What would you say is your strength in your drag when it comes to like, this is what I know how to do and I help other people with theirs, like their hair, their makeup, their clothing. I can make my own stuff, because I know in the drag scene too, it's not frowned upon, but I guess you're more respected if you make it yourself instead of being store-bought, I guess they say, or like.
Yeah, well, it's not so much buying it that is the issue. It's more when you're buying things that are like just buying some fast fashion. Not to say that it's not something that you can do, because when you're a baby queen,
you're more respected if you can make it yourself.
I wish that were the case. I wish it were. At least here. So so it's crazy. In PA, being able to make it yourself does give you respect. But I will say, if like me, I'm the type of person that when I make something, I get really excited about it. And I want to tell absolutely everybody in a 300-mile radius, oh my God, I made this thing. Look at it. It's cool. Because I'm like a child when it comes to like making things. And I get so giddy and excited. And most of the time, it's the people who can sew respecting people who can sew.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it is in PA. Now, I wish respect came with it, but unfortunately it doesn't. But as far as my skills go, my most confident skills, the skills that I know that, like, if I needed to show someone how to do it, I could show them how to do it step by step, and they would be good at it within a couple goes, is sewing. I am a seamstress. I am good at it. That is my skill. That is my forte. And makeup. I'm really, really good at makeup. Especially like the last year, I've really perfected my makeup craft. I've learned people's faces and things like that. And so I
might have a challenge for you. You have to quote me on something. I like collecting lucha masks. It's hard to see over here, but I like lucha masks. I have a whole bunch of masks over there. I'll show you off camera some lucha masks. But if you can seam and you can make like a drag inspired lucha mask, I think that would be
I would love to. Yeah. I did something like that for a performance down here, except it was a paper bag over my head. And it had like drag makeup all over it with vinyl. Yeah. And then I like revealed from the paper bag with the vinyl and like did my ponytail. There's a video of it on Instagram.
I just seen someone wearing a similar dress on a drag performance that you were wearing in Harrisburg, where it was like the red, almost it like a sleep, like when someone goes to bed with like the red.
Oh yeah.
And then you opened it and it turned into like a dress, and then underneath was like another outfit. I just seen someone like on a major drag show wearing something similar to that.
That's one of my favorites. That was actually the very, very first like actual outfit I ever sewed and made for myself.
Well, and it was like something very similar. I was like, because I think me and Lily were like, we've seen that outfit before. That's cool that you made that, and now someone else is doing something similar.
That's actually really cool. You'll have to send me a link to that.
RuPaul season 5, someone did something like that. That's what she just told me.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's where I got it. I probably did in the back of my mind.
What?
Oh, wait. Are you talking? Oh, Caught in the Act?
Caught in the Act, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, because we were watching, I was like, oh, Scarcity had something like that. It's not exactly similar, but it was like it was close.
The idea of
they didn't have the secondary outfit underneath. I think it looked like it was sleek and slimming, and then when they opened up their arms, it like widened out. I think that's the way it went down for them.
Are you talking about Violet Chachki's look?
Maybe. That's
where she's walking. Where she's walking down the runway, she opens it and it's plaid.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, that's Violet Chachki's. She. Okay. That is. Personally, that is volumes above what I made, but like I like that you thought of me when you looked at it. You're like, oh, Scarcity did something like that, because I idolize her. She's amazing.
Well, that's a great segue. Who are some other role models and influences you have in this industry?
So like I said, I really love Bianca. I love her humor, but over time, my humor has become more of a Katya kind of humor.
I'm the same way.
And like I say some really weird weird
say like
things.
something like I'm gonna get canceled. Like you can't make a joke about that. But I
Oh, yeah.
make myself feel comfortable when I'm uncomfortable with my humor. I don't mean harm. I don't mean to hurt people's feelings with it, but sometimes a joke needs to be said to lighten the mood. You know what I mean?
Oh,
And I think
absolutely.
Katya does that very well.
She really does. I mean, some of the shit she says sometimes is so wild. And like because it's Katya, I'm like, you know what, girl, you're right. You're
I'm
right.
gonna be honest. My recent commentary, like this weekend, I did my first like 2 back-to-back shows in wrestling commentary. So if you ever watch wrestling on TV, the people who narrate and tell you what's happening while you're watching, that's what I do. But watching
cool.
drag like and listening to Kati and Trixie and like their banter and their funniness, like there's lines I've been snacking, like taking from and like using it in my wrestling commentary and adding a whole nother flair to it. Like I start snapping.
Yeah. I love that. I really like, and it's really true because like watching them over the years, like I've watched them for 6 years now. It's like, okay, so I am starting to like my like humor and stuff is kind of from them, and like now I want like but I also hold on, brain no worky. Cut out these parts where I'm like, blah, 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 blah.
No, it's saying it's natural.
Like, God, no. At least cut out the part where I called them bad people.
Yeah.
Huh?
You know why they have this good humor though? Because they've been through shit and they're open about what they've been through, about living in trailer parks, about drug addiction, about the struggles they went through, about not being accepted. And they don't hide from any of it. They put it right on Front Street and they say, this is who I am. This is my struggles. This is who I am as a person. This is how I deal with my humor. I use those struggles to bring out my humor in my character and I put it in my art. And either you love me or you hate me. But because that they're genuine, that's why people respond to them.
Absolutely. Well, and I try to be genuine, but I think my genuine sometimes is a little too much for people. Just because
when you're popular and famous, then people take that what's too much for them at that level is now you're an inspiration.
Yeah. Well, you have to be too much at that level, and so it works beautifully.
Yes.
It does. But my idol is, I guess, my idol overall, everyone else, like beyond like anyone famous would be Sarah Bask, obviously. Not that she's not famous, Mama. You're famous in your own way. She's gonna come from my throat. She's gonna literally she's gonna listen to this. I know she's gonna be listening to it because I'm gonna feel like warmth around my neck.
Your ears are gonna be ringing.
My ears are gonna be ringing. I'm gonna feel warmth around my neck. I'm gonna be like, the room is closing in. But I think I really love Violet Chachki's fashion, the way she does fashion. Gigi Good's fashion is also very, very inspired. I love their style of fashion and how they do things, and especially the way Gigi specifically combines camp with something that like it's campy, but it's beautiful. And like I love that. Like I recently just made a shark themed outfit, and it has a rhinestone shark pussy. So like where the pussy would be, it has teeth that are rhinestoned, and the mouth on the inside is rhinestoned red, and it can close. And I have like a shark fin, and I made these like arm guards that stick all the way out to here, and these hip pads that come all the way up to like almost my armpit. And like I love it. It's like I love it. But it's something that's like, and it has like a headpiece that comes up, and it has a fin, and it's all rhinestoned, and then a ponytail that comes out the back. And it's something where I'm like, I look at when I make things like that and the way my mind works, and I think about like Gigi's looks and things like that, because that's something I could see her doing. I could see her now, not at the crappy level that I did it at, because although I can sew and I do really deem myself a really good sewer and seamstress, there are plenty of people on this earth and in this plane of existence, thousands and millions, that can outdo me any day. And that any of those girls can, of course, but like
there's 1,000 people that wish they had your skill.
Exactly. And so, but like her looking at her fashion and like really studying and understanding what parts of what is camp, what parts of this is high fashion, avant-garde, and then translating that into my own style. And like, so she's one of my idols because I look at her fashion and I'm like, this is somebody who fucking gets it. Violet Chachki as well, but a lot of her fashion is very beauty, but it's so beautiful, it's unreal. And so like, those are two people who like kind of opposite ends of the fashion spectrum, in my personal opinion. Just looking at kind of the core of where their fashion is kind of coming from. Those are two of my idols when it comes to fashion. Katya is kind of my idol when it comes to like my humor style, because I say some outlandish, out of pocket shit that has gotten me in trouble time and again. Especially with my mom, because I'll say that shit with her and she'll be like, it's funny, but you should watch it.
Yeah, I don't want to be fist fighting for you. Yeah.
Exactly. She's like, I'm tired of fighting for you. You need to shut up.
Yeah. So what are some goals you have set for yourself personally, in your personal life or in your industry?
In my industry, I don't really have a goal. In drag, I just want to do drag and have fun and enjoy it. I don't think I ever want to be on Drag Race. I don't think that's something that I see in the future for me. Not because I don't think I could ever get on it. I don't think I could ever get on it. But
That
because
attitude. Yeah, speak that shit.
Because yeah, for real. But because I don't like the idea of being owned by someone, owned by a company, and having no choice in my life for however long, and it's good and fine because, there are plenty of girls who are Drag Race girls, and this is going to sound so shady and bad, but nobody knows who they are. I don't even know who they are because I don't, but I think a lot of times that was a choice. That was like, it was an active choice to kind of step away from that spotlight. And like, I don't know if I ever want that spotlight put on me. Like, yeah, I do drag, but unless I could absolutely hide my boy identity and only ever be Scarcity in the public, I would never do Drag Race. I don't think I ever could because it just wouldn't be a good fit for me, for my life. And in my personal life, my goal right now is just honestly as simple as I just want to finish beauty school. That's my goal. That's my only goal right now, is finish beauty school, and it'll be done in 7 months. So I'm like, I just want to get that done. And then once that's done, move on to the next goalpost.
Yeah. Now, in your personal life, how much do you do any of your drag look when you go out? Are you like or is it mostly just like your look now when you're out and about?
Yeah, just look now. I keep Scarcity and Eli pretty separate for the most part.
Eli has like a really cool Peter Parker look. You have like Peter Parker meets what's the hell's that character's name from the Disney Atlantis movie? Is it Milo?
Milo.
Yeah, you got like a
Milo.
Peter Parker.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I love Milo. Peter Parker Milo mix.
Yeah.
I like that. I can get down with that. I like that. Yeah, I really honestly, and speaking of Peter Parker, Scarcity really is like my like superhero persona, so to speak, because when I'm in drag, I've been told time and time again that I look really, really intimidating, really, really scary, or, oh my God, you look so cool. So I either get scary or cool.
You look
or
like
both
the mean girl in school. Yeah.
Exactly. I think that's more what it is. Oh, Peter Pansy. Speaking of that exact phrase, Peter Pansy has told me so many times in drag, I look like his high school nemesis. and I'm like, I think it's so funny because he showed me a picture one time, and I was like, you're right. I was like, I can't even be mad at you. And he was like, yeah, no, you really look like her. And he's like, she always got the parts I wanted. And I'm like, but that just made me think of that because that's something he used to say a lot to me. He was like, you remind me of my high school nemesis. You look just like her. And then anytime it got brought up, he would literally show everyone, and everyone would be like, damn, that's crazy.
Candy bars outside of drag looks exactly like this one pro wrestler, and I like showing the photo. Like, oh my God, we do. Yeah,
That's funny.
I love
that.
I love seeing the transformation of someone in drag and out of drag. It's like it's so wild how sometimes the differences are.
Well, and
I
it's yeah,
yeah,
it's crazy.
impressive. It shows your skills as a performer of how you can change your look. Like it's super impressive.
Well, and
but
the
when you're not-
personality changes too.
yeah, absolutely. And that so in wrestling, right? We call it gorilla position, and it's called gorilla because this old wrestler named Gorilla Monsoon. He was like back in the day, like that was like the spot, like the right before the curtain, before you go out to a crowd. That's like your spot. That's where you get your feedback before and after a match. And that's where you have that last second before your music hits to transform into your character. And it's a spot sometimes I like to not hang out in, but observe it, because like when a wrestler is like a bad guy, right? So someone who's like really, really sweetheart or super, super nice, play the best
Mhm.
villains. And then right before they hit that curtain, you hear their music hit and they just stand there for a second. And it's like they become possessed by their character and they just completely change and hit the curtain and they're a completely different person. And they come back through the curtain. And then there's that moment in when they first come through where they're still like dickhead heel. And then they come back through and then they snap out of it, almost like depossessed, and they're like, "Was my match good? Did I suck?" I was like, "You just killed it!" Like it's such a beautiful experience. Yeah,
that happens in drag so much. I mean, you can see it with a lot of girls. Sorry, I had to move
You're
positions a bit
we're
because
talking so much. I apologize. I'm killing your phone.
it's okay.
My last interview was probably one of my longest, and I think this one's is already beating it. So I apologize. I'm keeping you if too long. We'll wrap up very soon. I promise.
Oh, you're good. It's all good. I'm enjoying this a
Having a
lot.
great time.
Just make sure to cut out anything that's going to get the girls in my DMs be like, "You fucking bitch, you fucking."
I don't think you said anything bad. I think even when you said things, you course corrected of like what you actually meant by it. I don't think there's not any editing happening here. I'm enjoying this conversation. I think it's very pure and good.
Oh, I'm scared.
You'll be fine. So outside of drag and at your cause and now doing cosmetology, what are some hobbies and interests?
Oh
you do
shit! Shutting
outside?
down.
What happened? Your phone's shutting down. We might have lost scarcity here for a second. We'll let them bounce back. What a fantastic conversation. Also, make sure you check out the links below to support myself and my guests. Follow them on social media, and anything else they got going on. They do a fantastic job. Like I said, their looks are really, really impressive. I'm just gonna kind of remove them for a second here and see if it unfreezes because they're frozen at the moment. But yeah, we're closing in here on the end, but just to kind of kill time, buffer a little bit. Check out the merch links below, especially from the Pennsylvania area. I got a lot of cool Pennsylvania inspired logos and t-shirts. If you buy any merchandise, please send me a photo of you in your merchandise. It means the world to me. I don't sell much of it. And then I was just at a show over the weekend and somebody was rocking my t-shirt at a wrestling show and it made my fucking day. Like I was like, holy shit. That's my merch on somebody and they're here and supporting me and it means so goddamn much. So if you do get anything, please send photos of you in it to me. And we'll see here if it looks still frozen, but maybe they can hear me. Can you hear me? No, it's still frozen. So we're going to remove them and have them join back in. Oh, I didn't even have to. They disconnected. All right. So they'll bounce back here in a second and we'll wrap this one up. But yeah, so lots of cool stuff happening on the podcast. So kind of like a peek behind the curtain. It is September. It's actually 9/11 right now, the day we're recording this, and everything will start airing in October. But if you want to be a guest on the podcast, please, anyone that was brought up or talked about on here, if you have a story to tell or you want to talk about your art and your industry, I love learning about everything. I love experiencing new art forms and scenes and learning about the community and about the culture of it. Please hit me up. Even if you're not an artist and you just have a story you want to be told, you want to hear, that's great. I do horror movie reviews, pop culture reviews. So if you're into like TV shows, comic books, movies, and you want to talk about your favorite movie with me, I'm down with that too. Yeah, there's tons and tons of things. I'm very versatile in everything I talk about. So let me make sure here they have the link to get back. So while we're doing this here, but yeah, so it's just a fantastic conversation. Their phone might have died. I had them going too long. All righty. See if they pop back in. But yeah, I'm just going to kind of filibust. But yeah, so we have the links below if you want to be a guest, as well as the merch pages and ways to support myself and my guest. So social medias are blowing up. I think close to 1,000 on Facebook. So that's pretty cool. Our Facebook page is ABJ. So tons of great things. We have a Discord community. If you want to join the Discord community, I actually put a page on my Discord community dedicated to LGBTQ and drag performance and art. So anyone can go in there and share their performances or upcoming events and have people or some of your stuff, and people will support it. We have a really cool community that talks about everything that we talk about on this show, whether it be pro wrestling, music, movies, art, horror, everything. It's all there. But yeah, so I'm just really excited to really take this content to the next stage. I have some interviews coming up that will be done in person, so it won't be through Zoom calls. I got my new cameras I've been working for a very, very long time. I'm very, very happy with them. I'm still learning them. I did a couple 5 questions with them, and the mics I still fucked up here and there. So work with me through my troubleshooting and my issues here and there. But like I said, I feel like I'm hitting a stride in my content that I'm ready to really, really flourish and blow up and do cool things. But yeah, I'm really, really pumped for the future of this channel. And I appreciate all of you guys for hanging out and enjoying this with me. So our guest should be back here momentarily, and we'll bring you right back as soon as I come in. All right. Little technical difficulties. They froze. We're back. Scarcity's back in attendance. We all don't know how to shut the hell up. We killed the phone.
Seriously.
Yeah. So the last thing I was asking is some hobbies or interests you have outside of your industry. So when you're not doing cosmetology, when you're not doing drag, what are some things you like to do to unwind? Things you're into?
To be honest, nothing.
Really?
My dad's good on me about this, is that I care a little too much about drag sometimes, and will put it before I put drag before everything.
Now,
everything
when
in
you
my
say
life.
drag, are you watching RuPaul? Are you watching drag? Like when you're watching TV,
No,
doing art?
like I don't watch TV. I don't go out. I don't do anything. My entire focus is perfecting my makeup, sewing, learning how to move properly, and just anything drag related or career related. Don't get me wrong. I do have fun, but I think like as far as like things go outside of hobbies and everything, there's not much of anything. I dedicate my entire existence to drag
I feel
and things of that nature.
Yeah, I would definitely say, just from a creative standpoint, I would definitely find something to have like as a moose, whether it's music or it's something in general, just finding something outside of that, because you never know what is also going to spark creativity when you're like, I just watched this movie, I read this book, like, oh, that would be a cool idea for drag. You know what I mean? Like, it's almost like when you involve yourself so much of it, you put your blinders on and you don't really absorb any outside feedback that could be helpful towards your creativity somewhere else.
That literally happened today. I was talking to one of my fellow Cosmo students, and they were like, "Oh yeah, I took one of these mannequin heads, cut it open, hollowed it out. They're hollow, so she cut it open and used it as a piggy bank." And I'm like, "Wait, that's really cool." And I'm going to be doing performing for my birthday coming up in about a month, and I was like, be perfect for a Halloween number is off with head, and like to hold the mannequin head in front and grab its hair and then like peel its head back and then like eat its brain, and then
Awesome.
That's a perfect like I understand exactly what you're saying, because now that I'm like finally being able to continue beauty school and stuff, one of those ideas came to me today.
Because you're being social, you're going out, you're interacting, you're not sheltering yourself. You know what I mean? As we were waiting off camera too, I had a friend of mine send me a bunch of drinks and stuff to try out. I just got this.
Oh, I hate it.
You didn't like it?
I did not like it.
I like caramel apple. It's pretty good.
I don't know. So like
in the movie.
I'm excited for the movie too. I really can't wait. My the person that I've been seeing wants to take me, and I'm really, really excited. I hope
Actually,
I get to.
it's actually you like fashion, so little plug here for Witchcrafts by Lily, which I think you're booked for the podcast, right? You'll be on the
Yes.
podcast talking fashion. They just made she just made this for me.
Oh my god!
It's
Oh,
got
I
the
love that.
dark green mossy thing, and then it has little pockets.
Oh, cute!
Oh, it's my new jam. I love it so much.
Our.
My jacket.
Our.
My jacket.
She's just correcting you real quick. She's like, who made that again?
Lily was wearing the full crocheted outfit the night you met her.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she's very, very talented. So make sure you guys check out the follow-up episode and follow Witchcraft by Lily on YouTube as well, because you'll be on there talking fashion.
Yes.
So last bit thing, we talked a lot here. We talked about and maybe grown as people eat with each other, or feeding back off each other. And I think the biggest take back is letting your emotions get the better of you, and thinking and maybe not understanding that people don't know where you come from or your story, and fixing things with conversation is, I think, the overall thing we learned here. But from someone who's been doing this since you're 15, you've had a journey with life. Life has not been kind, but through perseverance, you are finding happiness and finding comfortability and finding stability in where you are. What are some words of encouragement for a beginner, with anybody chasing their dreams or maybe just having a tough go in life?
I think the number one thing that has kept me going, that I think keeps other people going, is, well, why not? I don't want to do this. Well, why not? Just do it. And like, it took a long time to get to that mindset of like, well, I don't want to do this thing, but like, at the end of the day, 10 years it won't matter. To 5 years it won't matter. It might matter to me, but if something goes wrong, it's not the end of the world. And like, also, like, that translates into everything. Just like, I don't want to go to work today. Well, why not? Fuck it. Just do it.
Yeah. You know what
The
I'm
end of the
going by
day.
right now that's really helping me? Have you been hearing of the let them theory, or the let them way of mind state?
I have, yes.
I've been rocking with that. Like, someone's talking dirty on you, someone's being mean, someone's defaming your name, let them. Someone
Just let
doesn't
them.
want you around, let them. Somebody wants to leave, let them.
Mhm.
Because at the end of the day, that's their decision, and you cannot affect what people think or say about you. The only thing you could do is stay true to your character, and you will find your people. They're not for you. So don't stress about people who don't want to be around. Let them say what they want, let them do what they want, and just keep doing you, and don't let their energy affect your energy. I love that theory. I've been reading so much about it and like really diving
It's really
into it.
good.
I fucking love it. It's helped me mentally so much. And then the last question, what are you grateful for, and are you currently happy?
I would say I'm currently pretty happy. I'm much happier than I've been in my whole spectrum of my life. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful that I've healed. I'm grateful that I had people in my life who helped me heal. And honestly, I'm grateful for Percy. I'm grateful for Derriere. I'm grateful for Enigma. I'm grateful for Sarah Basque. I'm grateful for Misfit. I'm grateful for Alanis. I'm grateful for my drag sister, Icy Hottie. I'm grateful for my dads. I'm grateful for all of the people in my life who have been there and been a big part of it, and one way or another really impacted me. And those aren't all the people, but those are the people that kind of come to mind pretty quickly. And I'm really grateful to have the support I do from the people I do, who know me and my soul as a person, and at the end of the day, love me and care for me for who I am. And I'm also very grateful for the fact that I get to do what I do, because I know not everybody gets a chance to do what they do, even when it's, their dream or things like that, or it's their art. They don't really get a chance to do it. And I'm really, really grateful that I get to showcase such a big part of who I am to the world, just to everyone who wants to see it.
Well, I'm grateful for you coming on and doing this podcast and telling your story and being vulnerable and talking about things that aren't super easy and things that your trauma and showcasing to people that they're not alone in their struggles, and maybe maybe their story is bad, but you kind of gave them inspiration and hope, and you're super talented. Regardless of what you may think about yourself, keep grinding, keep doing your thing. I really enjoyed your look, your performance, and everything you do. I'm very thankful. I'm glad you found yourself in Texas, and I know the PA scene wasn't kind for you, but I think you found a good one before you left. So come back and hang out at some Misfit shows and come see us up in this area.
Absolutely.
I definitely we got to reconvene again. I love you to death. Seriously, you're a good person.
Thank you.
Keep grinding. I cannot wait to keep seeing this journey. And like I said before, if anybody who's listening to this in the scene wants to come and do their interview and tell their story, I'm very grateful if you'd want to do that. It means a lot to me. Where can people find and support you?
Everyone can find me on Instagram at I am Scarcity. That's IAMSCARCITY. And on Facebook, Eli Scarcity, ELISCARCITY. And that's it. That's all I got.
Do you have any merch or anything as of right now?
I don't, because I've never really honestly, I've never gotten into merch. I need to at some point, but
well, if you get any art done of yourself or anything like that, let me know, and I can help you set up some online stores. I have some myself, and if you ever get some cool stuff, so like I want more drag merch. I think it's really cool when people do like the cartoons of themselves as the drag in their some of the things. So like I have my
oh my god, yes.
I'm still finding a place to put them.
I love them.
Yeah. So if you get anything, let me know. I can help you set some stuff up. But thank you so much for your time. Sorry I kept you so long that I killed.
No, thank you for having me.
Was this your first podcast?
Yeah. I've never done a podcast in my life, so I was so excited. I'm like, oh, this is great, because that the way I just said that sounded off.
Yeah,
but it is great. I'm like really excited. I can't wait.
Yeah, we'll stick around a little bit after the music, and once it goes recording, I'll say a proper goodbye. But thank you guys so much for hanging out, listening, enjoying this story. Please reach out to Scarcity on social media. Tell them tell them what you thought of the interview. Maybe if you heard this and you had some bad thoughts or experiences, reconnect and say, hey, I'm glad you're doing well. Build those bridges again, because life is too short to hold on to those weirdness and those negative thoughts. Everyone's out to do a job. Everyone's out to be entertaining. Everyone's out to change the world. But we kind of talked about it off camera. I think the biggest thing in the drag scene is realizing that there's a big section of the world who doesn't accept you for your art or for you as people. So the last thing that we should be doing, or you should be doing in your art, is holding each other back or hating on each other, because in the grander scheme, you're pretty much all you have right now. So why ruin your scene when you're the main ones trying to change the course of history? And I think if we handle more things with love and respect, I think all of us will grow. You know what I mean? Love that. And that goes for any industry and any sport, any type of entertainment. It's not just a drag scene thing. It happens in wrestling. I'm guilty of it. I hate on people without having a conversation. I think we just all need to be better, as artists and as our performers. I know there's competition, but there's healthy competition. You can still be in competition with somebody because they inspire you, and not try to hinder them or hurt them. And that's a big takeaway from this conversation as well. We'll see you guys next time on the ABJ Podcast. Here's some music by the Converse Kid. We'll see you soon.